How's it going, everyone? We're now at the end of season 2 of Young People in Politics, and currently we've interviewed almost every major party north and south of the border on the island of Ireland. Given that this is the final episode of the season, next week I'll be posting a video answering all of your questions you may have about the channel's future or the series. You can ask questions in the comments, of course, but if you'd like to contact myself on Twitter @_Johnson_YT_ or on Instagram @Media.WMV, you're more than welcome to as well. Thanks again to everyone involved, and I'll see you all next week. The Democratic Unionist Party, or the DUP for short, was founded by Ian Paisley following a split from the Protestant Unionist Party, now known as the Ulster Unionist Party, in 1971, and is currently the biggest party in the Northern Irish Assembly. The party itself would be closely associated with British conservatism, British nationalism, and social conservatism. The party currently holds 8 seats in the House of Commons, 5 seats in the House of Lords, 27 seats in the Northern Irish Assembly, and 122 local council seats across Northern Ireland. In this episode, I sat down with Jonny Mearns, a current member of the DUP, to ask what got him involved in politics and the party. Perfect. Thanks a million for joining me today, Jonny. First of all, on your own personal level, what got you interested in politics?
So I think probably the very first thing was the Scottish referendum on independence, because I have family who live in Scotland, and then I was thinking, will this be harder to go and see them if they vote for independence? And then obviously it started me thinking, I was born and raised as a unionist, and then I sort of thinking, why am I a unionist? Am I even a unionist? And it's sort of clicking in my head that I should start thinking about these things a wee bit more. And then touching on from that, it was really the Brexit referendum. Whenever, I was sort of thinking about it myself, hadn't really talked to my friends, and then I said, I sort of said to my friends that I wanted the UK to leave the European Union, and that didn't go down well with a lot of my friends. And so I think it was from then on, I was sort of like, this is more interesting than what I even thought, because there's so many different ideas that come from all different angles on different topics. And from probably 2016 then, it's just been a rolling stone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And with regards to unionism then in Northern Ireland, there's a few options of parties you could have chose to have joined. There's obviously the UUP, the DUP, and the TUV. What kind of drew you more to the DUP?
So originally, actually, I joined UKIP about just after the referendum, I believe. Mm-hmm. And then I left it because I thought there's a few things I didn't agree with, some policies, but then there's also the fact that I didn't think they were very effective in Northern Ireland at all. And then I was sort of looking at, the unionist parties, and what drove me to the DUP was mainly just on a general policy basis. I agree with the majority of their policies, and I thought they were a force for good more than the other parties could really manage. I thought the UUP, I didn't agree with some of their policies, and I didn't think that they had the capabilities to actually be an effective unionist party. And same with the TUV pretty much, and I think they're a lone party with really only, they only have one MLA and not that many councillors. I just thought DUP, I agree with their policies, and they're the strongest force for unionism. So
is there any, say, like, just to expand on that a little bit more, any policies in particular that really attracted you to the DUP?
Well, there was obviously the divisive one with same-sex marriage, which I never really paid close attention to. It was more, for me, it was pro-life policy. And then the fact that the DUP have been very strong in supporting like lower taxes for corporations and stuff like that. I've always been quite conservative on the matters of both economics and socially. Mm-hmm. So it was mainly pro-life policies, their tax policies, and then just their general, I thought they were very good in standing up for the union in general.
Okay. What aspects of youth politics in general has kept you involved with the DUP to date?
So I said I've been very fortunate. Excuse me. I've been very fortunate because the DUP have a pretty good youth wing, the DUA, and there's both youth wings at Jordanstown and Queens. Mainly, Jordanstown ones just go along with the Queens ones, but I mean, it's like before COVID, we were able to have meetings once every week or maybe 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And then we'll do just things socially, but also have debates and bring in like speakers and stuff like that. And then also like just various societies, like I had in my school, and then going on to uni, this politics society and stuff like that. So that's been really helpful and keep me in the loop.
Mm-hmm. The next question is kind of interesting because all the other parties I've interviewed beforehand, their youth wings have tended to be on the majority sides of the topics I'm about to mention. So with regards to, say, in the Republic of Ireland, we had referendums both on marriage equality and then also on the repeal of the Eighth Amendment. And the majority of parties I've obviously interviewed have been in support of those policies, but the DUP is actually the first party I'm interviewing that has been against those policies. Is there any sort of particular youth issue that the DUP would be willing to get on board with the majority for, do you think?
I mean, I personally, I've said I'm a libertarian, so I would say, as for same-sex marriage, you know, I can see the arguments for and against, so I've never really had a die-hard view on the issue. I've never really committed myself to one side or another. I would just say, like, you know, I sort of went along with the party and their policy because, as I say, I'm sort of split on it. I think the party are losing a lot of ground with young people, particularly on the same-sex marriage issue. Mm-hmm. As for the pro-life issue, I mean, it is true that the majority of young people are pro-choice, but there's a very large, I'd say a large minority of young people who are, like myself, who are pro-life. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't be very happy if the party became pro-choice all of a sudden. I think it would be walking away from a key principle there. So I actually think it is starting to attract a new type of voter for the DUP, that is Catholic voters, which is who are now looking at the DUP as the only really strong voice for pro-life policies and just pushing the pro-life movement forward. I think a lot of Catholics and like traditional nationalists are starting to get frustrated with Sinn Féin and SDLP's just sort of pushing forward with pro-choice policies. I don't think that's doing themselves any favours, to be honest.
Let's just touch a little bit on, because you mentioned that you would consider yourself a libertarian, and please correct me if I'm wrong when we're going through this or whatnot, but at least from my understanding of the term of libertarian, the idea would be for less state and government intervention on a lot of personal issues to people. So from that perspective then, is it not easy to then say, with regards to marriage equality or whatnot, to then say, well, live and let live and let's not worry too much about it?
Yeah, I mean, as I say myself, like, I personally don't have a big issue with it. It's just, you know, in terms of, if you give me like a list of, if I had to write down, you know, 50 things that I find important to me, same-sex marriage wouldn't be on the list, to be honest. It's just, I think it's a sticking plaster that I say is holding the party back in general, but I mean, I understand the arguments that of those who are against it. I'm not trying to put them down anyway, but at the same time, it's just, I'm libertarian. I just think, you know, live and let live, like you said. I just don't think it's a big issue for anybody these days. So,
right. Let's touch then a little bit on more your cooperation then as well. Well, more so with the youth side of the DUP and the senior party then. The question more is, you know, do you feel that senior politicians are really listening to younger people more nowadays? Or do you still think there's a long way to go? So maybe take it from both your personal time in the DUP and then more of a broad perspective on it.
I do, because like going back to when I was in school 2.5 years ago, I was part of a politics society, and I was surprised that whenever we were inviting in speakers, they were from different parties. We didn't get a rejection. Like, everyone wanted to come in. It was more just sorting out dates that became a problem in the end. But it really, like, I was quite happy to see that every single party were happy to send a representative into school to talk to us. And then from the DUP's perspective, obviously we have a youth society, and I've met, I don't know how many DUP politicians just by going to that, and they've been really willing to you know, give up their Tuesday night or Thursday night, whatever it would be, to come and sit and engage with us for 2 or 3 hours. And then also from another perspective was that I worked for Emma Little-Pengelly when she was the South Belfast MP, and there was 2 people in our office who were in university, and now I know of another few people who work for Carla Lockhart who are still at university. So not only are they willing to sort of give us a voice, they're also like willing to give us a job, which is, I think, a great thing for the party.
So my second last question to you really is, the DUP, on the face value of it, really is that they are one of the bigger parties in Ireland, on the island of Ireland anyways, that are very much opposed to, and correct me if I'm wrong, but are opposed to positions that the majority of young people would be in favour of. So they're a Eurosceptic party. They're opposed to same-sex marriage. They're opposed to abortion rights. They have very little to say on climate action. Would it not, in some, like, there is certainly the object that parties are obviously going to have maybe one or two things that they're in the minority of for younger people. But as a young person yourself, and seeing a party that is so, and this could be just from my own ignorant perspective of it, but looking at a party that is so fundamentally not in favour of what the majority of young people want, would it not put you off the party?
I mean, whilst you could say the majority of young people are liberal in general, I think that's been true for generation to generation. I wouldn't necessarily agree with the point about the climate. The DUP did vote for declaring a climate emergency in the Stormed Assembly a few months ago there. And from my personal experience, Emily Pingali was quite active on the issue as well. But on the other issues, like, say there was, I don't know the exact statistics, but say there was 70% to 30% who were liberal and conservative. If they all of a sudden just turned on a dime and became liberal, I for one wouldn't be happy with that, because I still hold conservative values, and the 30% wouldn't be happy with that. And then you also have the issue of, like, political parties aren't there just to serve young people, they're there to serve the entire community. And they wouldn't just be turning on the 30% of young people, they'd be turning on all of their constituents who voted for them for years now, just by all of a sudden turning and figuring out the principles that got them into their position as the first place. They're obviously doing something right if they're able to become the biggest party in Stormont and attract 29 seats. So I think there is you could say the issues of the EU or abortion or whatever it may be could turn away young people, but then by turning on that will turn away middle-aged people and older people. So as I said, the party isn't, no parties there just to serve people who are under the age of, say, 24. They're there to serve everyone from the age of 18 right up. So I wouldn't advise a big change in the party for any of those reasons.
No, I don't ask it on the purpose of, say, changing the full party political position. I understand fundamentally that there are going to be parties that represent different sections of the community. Obviously it's much more of the case for Northern Ireland. You have members that represent the nationalist community, be it the SDLP or Sinn Féin, and then obviously the unionist community, be it the UUP, TUV or the DUP. So there's obviously different sects, but I mean more as a young person from that perspective. Obviously you're going to be coming in with your perspective, and you've noted that you're probably more socially conservative, and I do respect that in a certain sense as well. But I was just more asking the question on the broad senses of, from your own personal perspective, maybe just stepping back for yourself as opposed to maybe thinking of the broader community in that sense of the DUP.
I don't know. I mean, are you saying like for myself to stand back, or for the party to just sort of take more libertarian stance? Or
well, it's more so the question like that I would associate the DUP with a lot more of representing the middle-aged to older age voters, and there's certainly a base for that, and that's very much an important aspect of society that should be represented. But then from a young person perspective, such as yourself, it would be quite out of the norm for you to then join the DUP. And again, we've touched on conservative social aspects and economic aspects, and that certainly is the niche that the DUP does go for. But then on the sense as well, I'm more asking from your perspective, if their policies are very much anti to young people at this stage, why does that then appeal more to you?
Well, I mean, you say I don't think they're being anti-young people. I think they're just being conservative, which in turn would maybe turn young people away who are more liberal. But I suppose everyone has their own opinions, and everyone's I would advise anyone to do their own research on any issue that they come to heart and fully understand the argument that they're supporting and opposing, and really grapple with it, because otherwise it's just blind faith if you don't do that. And I feel, not to be harsh to my generation, but a lot of people are happy to just go with the tide and support policies that their friends are for, like being pro-choice and stuff like that. And I think just like I said, they've done a very good job with engaging with young people. I think possibly the one thing I would say is, if conservative parties like the DUP or even the Conservative Party over in England were able to very clearly come out and say, this is why we're conservative and this is why you should be too, it would actually attract a lot of young people, I think. But I think right now the DUP are just sort of allowing young people to see them as this party that's just all, that they just wear suits and ties and have a particular haircut and they're all over 50. When you really get into the DUP, I actually don't think that's necessarily the case. There's a lot of young people in the DUP who are just normal kids who have their particular view on things.
Okay. My final question then to you is, where do you see your future in both youth politics and politics as a whole going?
With youth politics, hope to continue on with the DUA anyway, and just playing a part in that, whatever it may be. And then for politics in the future, I would like to be an MLA, an MP. I don't really know. I mean, still early doors to say, but of course, even if I did decide to do that, it would be depending on what the electorate wanted. So it's pointless even saying I'll be an MLA one day, because, well, you have to get thousands and thousands of people to vote for you. So I don't know. That's certainly in the forefront of my brain right now, but who knows what the future holds, really.
Perfect. Jonny, thank you so much for sitting down with me.
Thank you.